Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the June branch meeting. My name is Julia Clark, and I'm the president of the ASCE Houston branch. At this time, I asked Tim Smelser, our Younger Member Forums chair, to lead us in pledges and invocation.
Thank you, Julia. Start with the U.S. pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. And everybody, if you can please bow your head, and then I'll say a quick prayer. Lord, we're blessed to be here and be able to gather with our friends and colleagues, albeit virtually. We pray for guidance in these matters at hand, and we pray for our continued safety and perseverance in these unique times. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our work and help us work together to encourage each other for excellence. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Tim. I would like to recognize the following ASCE Houston branch sponsors. These sponsors are vital for supporting a bulk of the branch's operations. These operations include our monthly branch meetings, K through 12 STEM outreach activities, and our scholarship program. Our platinum sponsors are ADS, Ameritech, BGE, Contech, ECS Southwest, EHRA, Fugro, HAF, LAN, McDonough, PGAL, Rabba Kistner, Terracon, TNP, and Walter P. Moore. Our gold sponsors are Aguirre and Fields, Cobb Finley, HR Green, and RPS. Our silver sponsors are Dannenbaum, Nino and Moore, and T. Baker Smith. The following are the additional announcements. The ASCE Houston branch elections for the 2020-2021 proposed slate of officers are currently open and will conclude on Friday, June 26th. The organization sent an email to the members forecasting their votes. Members may also cast their votes by visiting our website at www.ascehouston.org. I call Sarah Alvarez, our president-elect, to give us brief announcements regarding our membership survey results. Sarah?
Thank you, Julia. The ASCE Houston branch administered a membership survey from November to February of this year. We have reviewed the responses and put together a report to identify where the branch can improve membership value. A few items have been targeted for improvement. The first item we are working on is the content of the monthly branch newsletter. The articles are being reevaluated based on the level of interest reported by our members. The newsletter chair, Daniel Gutierrez with EHRA, has done an outstanding job of improving our newsletter and will continue to make improvements based on the survey results. Another item which was identified was having webinars for remote locations. As a branch, we were gently pushed into launching our virtual meeting platform. As we return to normal operations, the officers will be identifying how to make our in-person branch meetings virtual for attendees who are unable to attend in person. Technical activities were identified as one of the most valuable events we host. We will be brainstorming how to bring more technical events to our membership. We also heard from our civil engineers in the oil and gas industry. Currently, our programming is not inclusive for these individuals. We are working on ways to integrate events for this audience. If you are interested in assisting, please reach out to me. My email is available on the branch website under the current officers page. Some quick points to highlight. 79% of the respondents are satisfied with our communications, with email being the predominant way to communicate with our members. 67% of the respondents would continue membership with ASCE even if their employer did not reimburse membership fees. So thank you to our loyal members for your support. The results of the survey are viewable on our website. A link to the report was provided in the June newsletter. On behalf of the branch, I would like to thank all the members who took the time to complete the survey. We look forward to implementing your response to improve our membership value. Also, big thank you to Chris Lau with AECOM for developing the survey, overseeing the administration, and putting together the results. Julia, that concludes my announcement.
Thank you, Sarah. At this time, I call Tim Smelser to give a brief announcements on behalf of the younger members.
Thanks, Julia. The younger members have organized a volunteer opportunity with the Houston Food Bank. They need our help now more than ever. And it's going to be Saturday, June 20th at 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And you can find more information on the branch website and a link to register. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim. At this time, I call Aaron Orozco, Vice President, Education, to recognize our 2020 ASCE Student Scholarship Award recipients.
Thanks, Julia. I would first like to thank all our ASCE sponsors because this year we were able to increase the dollar amount of scholarships awarded. We are giving two $1,000, two $750, and five $500 scholarships for a total of 9 scholarships. I'm gonna go through all the students that were awarded the scholarships and give their names, school, the year they graduate, and a few hobbies they like to do on their free time. And most of them are online on the call now too, which is pretty good. So we got for our $1,000 scholarship, we have Hazel Scott. She goes to Rice University, graduates May of 2021, and she enjoys reading and playing club football for Rice. Then we have Michaela Garza. She goes to UT Tyler, Houston. She graduates May of 21, and she enjoys painting and spending time with friends and family.
Next slide.
Yes, please. And then for our $750 scholarships, we got Gana Linko. She goes to U of H. She graduates May of 21, and she's from Ukraine and enjoys hiking and playing the piano. And just a side note, Gana is holding up a couple of awards that U of H took home for the Cocker Canoe competition this year at the Student Symposium. So good job, U of H. And we have Hector Rubio. He goes to UT Houston campus. He graduates also in May of 21, and Hector enjoys woodwork, projects, and going caving. Next slide, please. We got Precious Agunonu. He goes to Texas Southern University, graduates December of 2020, so this year, and he enjoys painting, cycling, and traveling. We also got Yevin Yakovenko. He goes to UT Tyler Houston campus. He graduates May of 21, and he enjoys swimming, traveling, and is currently studying for the FE during this lockdown. Next slide, please. We have Osvaldo Diaz. He goes to UT Tyler Houston campus. He graduates May of 2022, and he enjoys reading and catching up on the news. And we have Nabel Martinez. He goes to UT Tyler Houston campus also, graduates May of 21, and he enjoys going to the gym, outdoor activities like fishing. And the last slide, last but not least, we got Israel Paniawa. He goes to UT Tyler Houston campus, graduates May of 21, and in his free time, he's a photographer that focuses on weddings. So congratulations to all our recipients, and back to you, Julia.
Thank you very much. I was giving a gentle applause to our scholarship award recipients. Thank you very much. At this time, I call Manik Metra, our Vice President Technical, to introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you, Julia. Today, our keynote speaker is Professor John Louis-Briaud, and he's a distinguished professor at Civil Engineering Department at Texas A&M, and he's our president-elect of ASCE. And we are very lucky to have you, Dr. Briaud, among us today. And if you, next slide, Julia. And you can download today's handout from there where the red arrow is. And if you have any question regarding our presentation or our organization, you can ask that question in the following arrow. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Briaud for his presentation.
Okay, Dr. Briaud, I'm gonna flip over here, just one moment, okay?
Thank you, Manik. Thank you, Julia.
Not a problem.
All right, show my screen. Look at this. You cannot stop progress.
Okay, I see your screen.
You do. Well, that's good.
Okay.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Manik, for the nice introduction. Thank you, Julia, and your team for organizing this get together. You know, this virus is really messing us up, but at the same time, I think there are some advantages. Like anything in life, you know, we get to have more participants, it seems, to our gatherings, and it seems to be less costly. So some advantages as well. Anyway, I have I want to stop around 1 o'clock so that we can have about 15 minutes of question and answers. And I have a few slides about ASCE first, and then most of the slides are about technical communications. So ASCE first. ASCE, best civil engineering professional society in the world. Well, obviously I'm a little bit biased, but also it's not perfect. And the question is, how can we improve it? And so being president-elect, I'm in the listening mode. So I wish to hear from you what you think should be improved at ASCE so we can continue to strengthen our professional family. So please send me emails or text or thoughts. Tell me what you think should be addressed, and when you do that, please start your email by saying I'm a member of ASCE, because right there your priority moves up significantly. So, but I wanted to first talk to you a little bit. You know, there are two ways of looking at ASCE membership. The first one is what's in it for me, and the second one is what can I do to help. And you certainly have the right to ask what's in it for me. You know, you pay dues, about $250 a year, and I showed here. Let me see if I can get my mouse pointer options. Laser pointer, look at that. I wanted to show you here that the 245 is really a good deal, because when you look, you know, you get 10 free PDH. If you're a non-member, that's going to cost you $1,600, and so your saving is there. Webinars, you get a significant discount, $60. PE review course, if you're in that process, you also save money. Conferences, typically you get $100, $150 discount for members, and so you attend 2 conferences and you pay for your dues. So definitely, in my mind, you know, a good deal. Now, what happens to this thing is that when I change it, all right, let me forget this pointer thing, because how do I get back to arrow options? Okay, this thing doesn't want to. All right, we'll advance it this way. All right, so, but the other way is to look at membership is because it's your professional family. You know, in life we have 2 families. We have our blood family, we have our professional family. And to me, ASCE is my professional family. I would never ask, what's in it for me if my child asks me for an apple or something like this. And so I look at ASCE the same way as my professional family. I just want to help. And then, civil engineering. So sometimes I'm a bit down on myself, and when that happens, I look at those structures, those pictures, and that's us. That's civil engineering, and we should be mighty proud. When you look at these huge structures, you can look at this, and that's me. That's what I do. I'm a civil engineer, and that by itself should really pump you up. At least it does that for me. And then we've seen some tremendous technological explosion. When you think about it, in the year 1000, we had horses. In the year 1900, we also had horses. But in 100 years, we now have cars, trains, airplanes, rockets. We went from this picture on the left to this picture on the right in 100 years. That's a remarkable technological explosion. Yet, at the same time, the number of credit hours that it takes to become a civil engineer has decreased. We are the black arrow. You're looking at years of formal education here on the vertical axis, and then the time scale on the horizontal axis. You see that medicine has increased to 8 years, law to 7 years, pharmacy, accounting, architecture, all those fields of endeavor have increased the number of formal years of education. Civil engineering and engineering in general has actually decreased, because when I went to school, it took me 150 credit hours to get my degree. And now we're down 125 and some 120. So something is not right, and we need to do something about this. Here's what I want to accomplish when I become president. And you're president for 1 year, basically. So you better hit the ground running, number one. And you don't want to have too long a wish list, because you won't have time to accomplish it. So the list is reasonably limited. The first step is I want to listen. I want to listen to the members, and that's why I invited you to send me some emails to tell me what you're thinking and what should be done. And I want to communicate with you. It's amazing how communication can solve a lot of problems, and how difficult it is. And that's in a way the topic of my discussion this morning. The second issue is that student transition is at a low 20%. I wish to increase this number significantly. In other words, only 20% of the ASCE student members become ASCE members when they graduate. It should be well close to 100%, and I wish to work with you on this. We need to talk to the student chapters and talk to them and tell them how fantastic ASCE is for them. I can assure you that whatever success I've had in my career, I owe a lot to ASCE, all the friends and connections I made, all the help I received. Without ASCE, there's no way I'd be where I am today. So we need to convey that message to the students and make sure we increase that 20%. And then I wish to foster the interaction between institutes and regions for the benefits of all members. The regions and the institutes are equally important to the well-being of our members. They play different roles, and the more they interact, the better off we will be. And so I want to foster that interaction, and we have an Institute Region Summit coming up early July to try to organize things that will continue to develop that interaction. And then infrastructure renewal and needed innovations. I read this morning that apparently the White House is working on a $1 trillion economy boost bill, mostly concentrated on infrastructure. And if that goes through, this will have a big impact on what ASCE has been promoting for a long time, the renewal of our infrastructure. But I want to talk a bit about innovation and stress the fact that we cannot afford, $1 trillion is a huge amount of money, but it's nowhere near what we need to replace the infrastructure that's crumbling in our country. So we need innovations so that we can renew this infrastructure without having to pay the full price. We need innovations that will decrease the price of that infrastructure. And then finally, ASCE must be financially sound. The budget of ASCE right now is going through some difficulties. We have a decrease in membership, and this is due to a number of things. Baby boomers like myself are retiring. There is increased competition between professional society, and so we need to boost our membership, and that goes back to number 2 above. Anyway, but please let me know what you think about all this. So now let me move to technical communication, humor, and philosophy. Now, I always enjoy this topic, in large part because I have a live audience, and I can see the smiles and then sometimes the laughter. But I must admit that my computer has never laughed at me, let alone smile. So I feel that I have a bit of a handicap looking at this screen and trying to make fun of some of the things that happen. So technical communications, this is a topic that's extremely important. Our students graduate, and some of the folks that hire them will call me and say, well, can she talk? Can he present? Can the thing that seemed to be important to them is not so much the technical content of their education, but the communication aspect of things, because that seems to be a weakness in the education that we provide to our students. So I want to tell you a story that goes back, and I have it in a future slide, but let me see. This is a movie, and this darn thing, pointer options. I want to go back to where I was. No, that's not it. Pointer options, laser, pen, eraser, arrow options, automatic. How about that? Yeah, let's try this. There goes the movie. So I hope you got to see this. This is a crash test. Some of the work we do for defense of embassies against terrorist threats has nothing to do with communication. I just wanted to start with a bang. Communication is essential to your health. I can tell. So I came to North America in 1972, and I couldn't speak English. And for about 3 months, I was unable to communicate with my peers. And I realized at that time how incredibly important it is to be able to talk to people. I believe that if you take one person and you put that person in a room by themselves with television, food, bed, and all the comfort, but you don't have them communicate to anybody, that person is likely to go through mental disorder after a while. And in a way, that's what we're facing with this pandemic. Now there's some impacts on our stability, mental stability, because communication is so essential to our health. I'm convinced of that. I put widow in here. My mother is 94. My father died 13 years ago. So, and she says, I miss the communication. You see that over and over again. The most important concepts in technical communications are be brief, be clear, be right technically, and be correct from the communication point of view. You don't want to interrupt other people when they talk, but at the same time, if they give you a 15-minute lecture, then that's not going to work, the exchange of ideas. So make sure to be brief. My kids, I've got two children, Patrick and Natalie, and early on, they said to me, Papa, we would like to ask you a question, but we don't want a 50-minute lecture. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, I can give you the 15-second sound bites. I can give you the 2-minute expose, the 10-minute discourse, or the 15-minute lecture. And they always chose the 15-second sound bite. So being brief is essential. And then think of your audience. For example, if you want to communicate risk to a farmer, then showing where the water was during the last flood might be a very good way of communicating risk. But if you want to communicate risk to an audience made of professors or engineers, then you may have to resort to a plot like this with different activities on it. I want to share with you a story. So I was mentioning that I arrived in Canada in 1972. And after my master's degree, I was hired by the department to do some teaching. And the department head would come in at the a month or so before the semester would start, and he would say, all right, we need to find out who's going to teach what course this semester. And so it was a small department. There was about 12 professors. And so the department head would go to the board and write a list of the courses that had to be taught. And so you had introduction to geotech, structural mechanics, structures and transportation, all the elite courses, if you wish. And so the older pros would say, I'll do that. And, being brand new in that organization, I was in the back of the room being quiet and stuff. And then after most of the courses were distributed, the department head looked at me and he said, Briaud, yes, sir, you're new here. Yes, I am. He said, technical communications. Oh, my goodness. I said, sir, I can hardly speak English. He said, Briaud, technical communications. and my goodness, I remember 72 students in that class. And the poor students didn't learn that much, but I learned a lot about technical communications. I was so well prepared. There was not 1 second for any of the students to ask any questions, because I knew that if there was a question, I'd be stuck. So that's where I learned a lot about it. And as a result of this, in my book on geotechnical engineering, chapter 27 is technical communications. And so that's a lesson, if you wish. Don't shy away from challenging situations, within reason, of course. But if somebody say, we want you to do this, and you say, oh my God, I've never done this before, say, do it. Go and do it. You will learn a tremendous amount. We learn most from failures, you've heard that, but we also learn most from things we've never done before. Use proper means of communication. We have many different ways of communicating. Email is probably the most common, although texting is now, rivaling with this. But there are times where email is the proper means of communication, and sometimes it's not. Example, in being president-elect, I had to make some decisions on who would be on certain committees. And there are some cases where I felt that person ought to be rotated. I did not send an email. I would call the person to explain, because I think it was the right level of courtesy that I owed that person. And then even the phone call sometimes is not appropriate. So the visit to the office is a better way of doing things. But while I'm on this, you know, it's amazing. I mentioned that we had a technological explosion in the last 100 years. One of them is communications. You know, 1,000 years ago, we probably had a messenger fellow that would jump on a horse with a piece of parchment and go deliver the news to the king or something. And only very recently have we evolved. I mean, the phone is only 200 years old at most. Telegraph, phone, and then all those new means of communication. And I can tell you, one of the hardest things we have at ASCE is communicating with individual members. If I send you an email, you'll probably delete. Oh, another email from ASCE. If I put something on a website, you probably won't look at it. If I send you a text on your phone, that's invasion of privacy. If I use social media, well, that's mostly for your friends and for sharing photos. So while we have this explosion in the means of communication, it has become very difficult to communicate with our ASCE members. So that's why I think I need to work on this communication issue. Dare to speak in public. I think it's early on. Go to join a Toastmaster or a Rotary group and dare to stand up and talk to people. There's no doubt that the more you practice this, the easier it becomes, the more natural you are. You will find at first when you start doing that maybe you don't know what to do with your hands, you know, and then you put them behind your back, and one trick is use a pen, and then that way your hands are holding the pen, and you don't have to worry about what your hands are going to be doing. Control quality. Obviously, spelling, grammar, although with the spell check now, that's made life a lot easier. Pronunciation of names. Take the time to check how to say somebody's name before you have to introduce them. I remember back to the early days when I came to Texas A&M University, we had a professor, Professor T.J. Hirsch. He was a true cowboy, a wonderful person, very bright. And at one meeting of the department faculty, he said, he stood up and he said, "I want to introduce you a new member of faculty." And he was referring to me. And his name is, and I saw in his eyes for a split second that he was thinking, "Oh, smoke, I forgot to check with him how to say his name." And so it came out as Jean Louis Bird. But at least he said it with enough conviction that nobody really thought that he made a mistake. And so there's value in being, decisive in the way you present things. Here's another movie, so we'll see another one. This one is a soft landing. So the first movie was Defense of Embassy Against Terrorists. In that case, we don't care about the driver, but this one is roadside safety, and in this case, we care about the driver. Beware of local customs. You know, our world is getting smaller. We travel internationally often, and it's important to take a minute before you travel to kind of look at what the local customs are. For example, I remember a while back I went to Korea, South Korea. So I arrived in Seoul, And, you know, I stayed a few days there. And every time I would take a car, we had a driver and I was with other people. And, you know, I would say to the person that was with me, go ahead and take the front seat, you know, trying to be polite, as we do in our country. And every time that person would not hesitate and would go directly to the front seat. So I was a little bit surprised because, you know, typically we say, no, no, you go ahead. No, no, you go, you know, you go ahead. And there was no hesitation. And then finally, a former student of mine whom I saw over there said, Dr. Briaud, the best seat in the car in Korea is the seat in diagonal from the driver. That was the seat that you would sit in a taxi sort of thing. So here I was trying to be nice, and in fact, I was grabbing the best seat in the car sort of thing. So take the time to know your rights. One of the things that has helped me a lot actually in my life is, you know, there are a lot of things that we come across that bother us. And some bother us a lot more than others. And every time I face something that really bothered me, I thought of this saying. It's not mine. I'm not sure what the origin is, but you probably recognize it. Have the courage to change the things that you can change. Have the discipline to accept those that you cannot change, and have the wisdom to know the difference. And so every time, you know, I found that something I felt was wrong, I thought about this, and of course, you cannot fight all the battles. You got to pick your battles, and that's in a way what this is saying. And when it came to being president of ASCE, that's where I decided I have to have the courage to do this. But in many other instances, I just say have the discipline to accept it. It's not worth your energy. You know, we have limited energy, and we have to organize it to optimize our impact. Communication between fields of engineering. It's amazing. You know, as engineers, as civil engineers, we design more and more on the basis of a probability of failure. This has come about because of the evolution from a single factor of safety to a load and resistance factor design in structures and in geotech as well. But when you look at the practice in the various fields of civil engineering, you find out that we do not operate at the same probability of failure, let alone risk, with risk being defined as probability of failure times the value of the consequence. You know, in geotech, we face a fair amount of scatter. In structures, there is a lot less scatter typically because we control the material. But in hydraulics, and particularly in hydrology, the scatter is remarkable. I mean, the scatter on natural scale in geotech is the scatter in hydrology on log-log. And so when I started to work quite a bit on erosion and hydraulics, hydrology, and so on, I thank my friends in hydrology for making me feel good, because their scatter was a heck of a lot more than the scatter in geotech. So we have to talk to each other, and as we go more towards a risk-informed decision process, this is a chance to make sure that we even out the risk that we take across disciplines by bringing the structures, the hydraulics, the geotech, and all the other fields within civil engineering to the same level. And I'll show you here, and this is another example of communication. This is a cross-section, if you wish, of the Woodrow-Wilson Bridge, the new Woodrow-Wilson Bridge across the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. And you see the cross-section at the bottom there. And the in that rendition, the vertical scales is grossly exaggerated compared to the horizontal scale. The true scale is shown at the top. And so making a drawing to scale is a tremendous value for communication among civil engineers. This is a first step in any work that we do, a drawing to scale, because by distorting the scale, we may miss out on some important issues. That's the construction of this Woodrow-Wilson bridge. 6, communication to solve problems. I really believe that talking about difficulties is the best way to solve problems. It doesn't always work. There are some people that are so strong about their opinion and so close to listening that the discussion may not help. But I would say 95% of the time, personal discussions are very efficient in solving problems. And then listening. Listening is so difficult. You know, sometimes you say, well, I didn't say anything for 10 minutes, and so I was listening. Well, maybe not. You know, if you were thinking of the birds and the bees or whatever, and you were not truly listening, empathizing, concentrating on what the other person is trying to share with you, it's not that easy. It takes a significant effort. And I'm reminded of, I put the name of Carol Shields. Don Shields was my PhD advisor, and Carol Shields was his wife. She was a Pulitzer Prize winner, remarkable person, and she was very talented in listening. I remember the first time I met her, I talked to her for 30 minutes. She knew everything about me pretty well, and I didn't know a thing about her because I didn't ask the questions. How are you doing? What are your interests? What keeps you motivated? But she had asked those questions of me, and being young, you know, a PhD student, I was relatively selfish, if you wish. You know, I was interested in making a difference, concentrating on my career rather than worrying about the person that was talking to me. And it changed gradually as I got older, and I think it's a natural evolution. But she was excellent in listening. Put yourself in the other person's shoes, empathize. That's not easy either, and that's part of listening. I was mentioning this on the previous slides. And here I'll just tell you a joke, a story. So you have two men in two people in a field, and suddenly a bull comes and charges. And there are two solutions. You can either go into a big hole, or you can jump on a tree to get on the branch for safety against the bull. So one person goes in the black hole, and the other person jumps in the tree. And so the bull is at the bottom of the tree, and he's upset. He wants to do some harm, and suddenly the fellow that's in the black hole comes out running, rushes towards the tree. His friend grabs his arm and pulls him up on the branch and says, "You dummy, why in the heck did you not stay in the black hole?" And the other fellow says, "Well, there was a big black bear in the hole." So sometimes we think we don't understand why people do things, and of course we always think we're right, but there are very often very good reasons why people do things that we disagree with or we don't understand. Now, this is Ann Lander's long time. I'm going to pass on this. Be clear, be brief with your message. you know, the two things. You never know in your life what people are going to say to you that are going to really stick. And there are two examples of this in my life. The first one was a comment from my father. Back in 1981 or so, you know, I would go back to France and enjoy a visit. He was a contractor. He went to the same school I went to, civil engineer. And I would come home, and across the kitchen table, you know, I'd talk to him and explain to him the research I was doing. I was quite excited, trying to impress my father, you know, and he would listen to me patiently. And after about 10 minutes, he would say, "So what?" And I would be so frustrated, meaning what is that going to change in what I do? You know, so what, your research? And I was so frustrated. I remember that day I said, I don't care what I do in research from this point on, I'm going to make sure my father cannot say so what. And so that stuck with me, and that's why I try to concentrate on research that's really helpful to industry and practitioners. And then the other example is 1986, I met Jeff Meyerhoff. Jeff Meyerhoff, guru in foundation engineering. And we were in Denver, and I went to introduce myself at the end of an ASCE dinner. And I said, "Professor Meyerhoff, I'm Jean Louis-Briaud." He looked at me and he said, Briaud, oh yes, he said, "I've read your work on horizontally loaded parts. Too complicated," he said, "too complicated." And again, I don't know, I didn't know if I should be happy he read my work or frustrated that he thought it was too complicated. But anyway, that stuck with me, you know, and I promised myself, and from this point on, that I would, whatever I did, I would try to simplify to the point that Meyerhoff could not say too complicated, and that has stuck with me. I want to show you a few photos and slides from the work I did in Pointe du Hoc. It's also an example of communications. So this is the site. So we're going to France, and you see here, if you see my mouse, we're in Normandy, where the D-Day landing site is, and there was a number of beaches, Omaha being one, but there was also a cliff called La Pointe du Hoc, and you see the cliffs here. These are 100-foot tall cliffs, and General Rudder and his and 200 Rangers came in on 6 June 1944 to climb those cliffs. And I was asked about 12 years ago to work on a project for Congressman Chet Edwards, working with him in Washington to arrest the erosion process of those cliffs, because they were about to lose some of the war monuments that were, the cliffs were retreating from erosion process, and they didn't want to lose those monuments. But the first message of communication, so let's say that you have to, you're in 1944, World War II, and you want to organize an invasion, and you want to, you know, start with heavy bombardment so you can weaken the defense of the opponent. But if you bombard one day, then your enemy says, "Oh, okay, tomorrow they're coming." But you can see the dates of bombardment: 25 April, oh, they're coming on 26. No, we're not. So then 13 May, oh, they're coming on the 14th. No, we're not. And then 22 May, 4, 5, 6 June, and finally 6 June. So trying to, this is one case where you don't want to communicate the message to the other side. But this is, you can see all the craters from the bombs, and you know, I was asked to help out, and it was for me, a very special project, because basically those young rangers came in to deliver my parents. I wasn't born at that time, but I heard plenty of stories, and so I, working with Congressman Edwards, was a true pleasure and really a gut-wrenching project. So this is what we, another part of communication. So this is the situation. You had the bunker at the top here and the cliffs. And then basically the problem was relatively simple. You had some big caverns at the bottom, but because the waves would actually dig a big hole at the bottom of the cliffs. And when the hole was too deep, the cantilever mass of rock would actually collapse. And that's how the erosion process was taking place. And so what we did is we said, well, we're going to backfill the bottom of the cliffs to backfill the caverns and support the rock mass. And then we're going to put some micropiles under the bunker, so that you know, even if there is if this fails, this first solution fails, then there's a second solution that will actually hold the bunker in place. And I remember meeting with General Hawkins in Paris and explaining. He said, well, tell me how good is this solution? You know, he was a very smart person, but not a civil engineer. I said, well, you know, we have this number one countermeasure here at the bottom, and then we have this second countermeasure that will actually give you two chances to resist the. And he said, well, you know, but how good is it? I mean, how? So then I said, well, let's say that there is only one chance in 100 that this first part fails, and one chance in 100 that this second part fails. Then we've got to multiply the probabilities, and now we've got one chance in 10,000 that, and he said, I don't understand. And then I said, well, I'll tell you what, I've got two kids, and I wouldn't mind, after you repair this way, the way I'm telling you to do, I wouldn't worry about putting my two kids and let them live there for 30 years in that. And he said, now you got it. And so, you know, I tried civil engineering at first, I tried mathematics next, and in the end, it was family that made the difference. Think before you talk. Keep the big picture in mind. You know, sometimes we get nasty emails, and do not answer nasty emails. Give yourself 1 day moratorium, no matter what, because you know you're frustrated, you're angry, and if you respond right away, you may have 5 seconds of pleasure, but weeks of agony because of the way you responded. So give yourself 1 day, sleep on it. You've heard the story, and then and in fact, consider not answering at all. Because if you don't answer, the person that sent you that nasty email may worry, may wonder, well, I sent this nasty email, you know, maybe he or she didn't receive it, or you know, so you're actually sending the frustration back to the person that sent it to you in the first place. But and you also have to be fast on this manager here. This is another joke. Sometimes you have to be quick on your feet to try to balance the situation. So this joke is there's a client, a customer that comes to a grocery store, and he goes to the vegetable department. There's an attendant there, and the client says to the attendant, I would like to buy a half a head of lettuce. So the attendant looks at him, half a head of lettuce? Yes, a half a head. Oh, well, sir, I'm not sure I can do this. Let me go in the back and see if the manager will allow me to do that. So, you know, he goes through the swinging doors, and he doesn't notice that the client has followed him. And the attendant comes to the manager and he says, there is a stupid idiot in the store that wants to buy a half a head of lettuce. And he turns around and he sees that the client had followed him. Oh, and he said, this nice gentleman wants to buy the other half. So sometimes it helps to, to have concentrate on problem solving, not blame assigning, be professional, attack problem, not people. Keep a trump card in your back pocket. I think it's important when you're trying to convince people not to display all your arguments all at once. Keep a strong argument to come back to either seal the deal or give a counter argument. I think it helps in the convincing process. I'm going to pass. Oh, well, wait, it works. There's another movie, this big truck. By the way, the movie stops right here because the truck is coming straight at the cameraman. So it's time to stop and run. 2 positive for every negative. This is something that my wife Janet taught me when I was coaching my 2 children into tennis, and they were very talented. That was my luck, if you wish. Patrick became 115 in the world ATP ranking, played at Wimbledon, and Patrick was number 1 on the Rice tennis team. So both, but every time I would go watch them play, I would make notes of all the things they did wrong. And so afterwards, I would explain, I wanted them to be perfect, like any father. And I would concentrate on the negative, but that was really deflating the balloon, and they would not feel good about their tennis. And so Janet said, all right, every time you talk to them, you use 2 positives for every negative or every constructive criticism, let's say. And that was a very good. Timing is important for sure. A little luck does not hurt. The Washington Monument is an example. Here's a structure. You all know it and seen it. You see my mouse here is at about 50-meter height. And that's when the monument construction was stopped. It was started in 1848, stopped in 1855 because they ran out of money. And that was a good thing, it turns out, because after the Civil War, they finished the monument, but they first enlarged the foundation because the foundation was way too weak. And if it hadn't been for the delay in construction and people reevaluating the foundation of that of the Washington Monument, we probably would have the Leaning Monument of Washington. And these are, I'm going to finish at 1 o'clock, so we got plenty of time. Rules for successful marriage. I shared that. This is something when Natalie, my daughter, got married, I shared those rules of successful marriage. She said, don't talk too long, Papa. So I did the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and so on, so people knew when I would be finished. Let me finish with this here, the rules for a successful career. This is just my opinion. Others certainly might have different ideas, but rule number 10, have the relentless pursuit of excellence as a way of life. I think it's, Julia and I were talking earlier about this. I do think it's a tremendous asset to aim for excellence. We don't always have time or the patience to be excellent in everything we do, but we need to aim for it at all times. 9, be curious. It's amazing what can come. First of all, if you're curious, you never get bored. Number 2, if you're curious, you learn a lot more than if you're not. I remember going across the street to mechanical engineering to listen to a talk that I was marginally interested in, and suddenly a new avenue opened up in my research, and people in civil engineering were impressed. And all I had done was cross the street and listen to something else that mechanical engineers were doing. Number 8, work hard but balance your interests. That's a tough one. You know, we have our work, we have our family, and we have our health. We want to be fit. So how do we balance all these time constraints and pulling in various directions? Very difficult, but make sure that you find a way to balance it. And there are times, for example, when my 2 children were young, my career took a dip. This was mid-90s or so, because I said, all right, I'm going to park my career for a while, and I'm going to pay a lot of attention to my children, because a colleague of mine said, you know, Jean-Louis, my kids were born, and then they were 18 out of the house. I never saw anything in between, because work, work, work. And so I paused my career during that time, and I don't regret it a minute. 7, make lots of friends, public relations. You know, engaging conversations when you're with people. This is very, very helpful. 6, look for solutions and not who's to blame. Who's to blame is the job of the judge. Look for solutions. Your life will be a lot better. 5, be firm in your decision, but fair and polite. Listen to others, but when it's time and your responsibility to make decisions, you be firm, while, of course, trying to be fair and polite at all times. Treat others as you wish to be treated is pretty clear. Communication is the best way to solve problems. I mentioned that. 2, surround yourself with smart people. Don't ever be afraid to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you are. You know, you might be afraid of it, but I can assure you, in the long run, they will be the one making you look good. So don't be afraid. And then 1, go after your dreams with vision and perseverance. That's number 1 in my mind. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Briaud, for your presentation. One thing that I wanted to do before I ask the audience for their questions, they can go ahead. If anyone has questions, please go ahead and start typing them into the questions section of your window pane at this time. I wanted to see if I can run one particular poll. We are kind of a little bit short on time, but I wanted to see how many students we have participating with us. So I'll be launching a poll here momentarily. If you're not able to access the poll, please make sure that you escape out of the full screen view. You can hit ESP, the key on your keypad, to escape from that. So I'll just launch it here in a moment. And it's just asking how many collegiate students, if you are a collegiate student. I just wanted to see what we have. Okay. I'm about to close the poll in the next 30 seconds, and then I'll move on to the questions and answer session.
Do you still see my screen, or are you? It's back to your screen, Julia.
I haven't escaped it yet. I will do that momentarily.
Okay. You know, if we don't have any questions, my question to everybody is, how can we increase membership?
Sure, not a problem. So I've closed the poll. We had about, I would say 6% of the participants that are students. We had closely to about probably 190 people that attended the event. Some of the other questions that I've asked before are, are they ASCE, branch members? 90% of the individuals will say that they're members. So those are the typical kind of questions, but I just wanted to ask this question just to see how many students we have. And let's see. Okay. I'm going to be showing my screen now. And what I will do is I will take a look at the questions and I'll read them to you, Dr. Briaud. We have 2 questions right now. One of the question is, we do not teach technical communication skills in college. Any consideration to make this mandatory in curriculum?
Well, it's a very interesting question. You know, we have the choice in university to either create a course that's called technical communications, or we can let technical communications permeate through every course that we teach. And you know, when I taught this course way back and learned a lot, I do think that the better way is to actually let technical communication be part of every course that we teach. Sustainability is another issue, a bit like technical communication. Should we teach a separate course on sustainability, or should we let sustainability be part of every course that we teach? I do think, I mean, it's harder to control the impact that you have that way, but I do think that if we somehow, you know, let the students write essays, let the students make presentation. I know it's not easy, but if we can do it that way, that's probably more efficient than creating a course. Short of that, yes, a 3-hour course on technical communication would probably go a long way.
Okay, and that question was from Anwar Akhtar. The next question, I think is from Jorge Alba. He says, excellent presentation, Dr. Briaud. How do you communicate technical complex problems with regular non-engineering audience?
Wow. Yeah, that's it takes a little bit of thinking and preparation. You know, I mentioned the General Hawken visit in Paris. We talked for about 2 hours, and in the end, when I started to talk about my children, you have to find ways that resonate with your audience, with the person you're talking to. Nearly everybody has children or friends, or you know, and I think if somehow you can empathize, put yourself in the shoes of the other person, and try to understand how they work, how they feel, how they think, and try to maneuver, if you wish, in a way that allows you to be impactful in the way you respond to a question.
Okay.
Not easy.
Okay. The next question that I have is increase membership of students upon graduation. That's the topic. It says perhaps a lesser than full membership would help until one finds a job and is reimbursed by the employer. From Anwar Akhtar.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Anwar. Good thinking. I think there is about 60% of employers pay the ASCE membership. for our members. But that number is decreasing with added pressures on budget, and the pandemic is not helping. Now, note that when you're a student and you transition to ASCE membership, the first year is $0, the dues. Then it's $85 the following year. Then it's $125 and $175 and $245. So it goes gradually to $245 over the 5-year period. I feel that this smooth transition, if you wish, is quite helpful. I'm not sure what else we could do. One thing I would like to do is make sure that all student members are a member of ASCE upon graduation, no questions asked. We simply transfer their membership to associate member, which they would become. And then at the end of this year, because it doesn't cost ASCE anything, it's $0. So at the end of this 1 year, then we would ask them, would you like to continue to be a member? But the key to retain students is to demonstrate the value that ASCE has and offers to students and young members throughout their life in civil engineering. I think that's the key. Talking to the student chapter, student chapters, they enjoy the camaraderie, the competitions, the conferences, and they worry about a job at the end. We need to help them look beyond that and see the value of ASCE membership.
Okay. The next question is from Patrick Beecher. He asks, what worries you the most about assuming the role of president?
Thank you, Patrick. Right now, the budget, to be pragmatic, the budget of ASCE is the thing that worries me. And there are many reasons for this, and it's difficult to pin down a single one. But the ASCE is going through a bit of a tough time, and I'm kind of handed this hot potato and then told, hey, Brio, you fix it, sort of thing. So it's a little bit tough. And I'm not the only one. Obviously, Gunnar, our president right now, doing a great job addressing this, and Robin before him. But that's the one thing. The health of the society is what worries me. Maybe not worries me, but this is what I wish to concentrate on. I need to put a lot of energy into making sure that people continue to think that ASCE is fantastic professional society. It does a lot of good to a lot of people, and we need to continue that enthusiasm and share it with the rest. Apparently, there's another 150,000, so 150,000 members right now in ASCE. There's another 150,000 civil engineers that are not members of ASCE. Not sure that I can prove it, but so we need to grow that membership, and one way is to talk to the students. There are nearly 50,000 of those 150,000 members are students. It's a huge population, remarkable, talented, energetic population. We need to bring them in and work with them so they can tell us what they want.
Okay. The next question is from Mr. Tim Newton. I think this question is probably directed at both of us, or a comment. The topic is, or question, increasing membership. You are doing it today. You should continue with virtual even after you resume in-person meetings. We are reaching a new sector of membership and will gain/retain members. Thank you for the extra effort. So I think that's a a question / a comment of providing the members with what they want. I don't know if you have any comments on that, Dr.
Yeah,
Briaud.
no, I agree, Tim, and I look forward to working with you on this and other issues. You know, you and I are passionate about the ASCE, and we need to let that passion. Can you imagine if you and I could actually have this passion grow like this flippant virus is growing among all of us? You know, we need to turn turn this passion and let it you know, propagate like a virus, but a good virus.
Okay. Yeah, we have a couple more questions. I'll try to be a little bit more quicker. The next one is from Mr. Abdel. He asks, how do you solve the problem of miscommunication in various form of media?
Oof. That's so tough. That's so tough, you know, because you have to understand that the media, while their primary responsibility is to tell the truth about the news, they're also in a business. And it's sometimes difficult for them to dissociate the news from the business. I've been interviewed a good number of times in many countries, and you have to be very careful, and you have to be trained to avoid some basic mistakes when being on camera, because for one thing, they're going to interview you for 20 minutes and they're going to use 15 seconds, and they're going to choose the 15 seconds that will be the most provocative or interesting to their viewers. So how do you do that? Well, in ASCE, you have letters to the editors. In newspapers, you have letters to the editors. You know, that's one way to voice your opinion and make sure you redress what you feel is wrong.
Okay. The next question is from Mr. David Collins. He asks, with regards to the security bollards in the crash truck, did you meet Mr. Rich Adler, who invented the security bollards?
I'm not connected with that part. I don't know that person, and so if you can educate me or send me an email, and I'll be glad to look into it and see if I can give you a better answer.
Okay. All right. Anwar had another question here, or a comment. He says, starting ASCE family membership is critical. It also has to start at individual levels. My dad is an engineer as well. As soon as I started my engineering education, he made sure I was an ASCE member no matter what. So that was just a comment.
Yeah.
The next one is from Mr. Clay Forster. He says, my involvement in ASCE over the years, has been in large part because I had very supportive employers, and I believe I am a better engineer and person for it. And he also asks, how do we engage our employers to see the value of ASCE for their employees and engage membership, especially in in physical constraint times, like physically constrained times? Like, how do we engage our membership through our employers when they're struggling financially?
Yeah, it's not easy. You know, everybody right now is feeling stressed, both mentally and financially. I can tell you that from an employer point of view, we're talking to a number of DOTs, Department of Transportation. One of the things that they value in ASCE is the professional development hours for their engineers, and the fact that you get 10 free PDH with your membership is something that they value significantly. The other thing that seems to be of interest to employers is the fact that we have a partners program. And this partners program, if you're in a company and you signed multiple civil engineers within your company, you get a 20% discount on the membership. And that's from 4 to 50 members that you sign. Then from 50 to 100, you get 25%. I mean, there's a graduated scale there, but this is the partners program. And so if you're a company that supports a number of your employees by paying their registration, their dues, ASCE, you can look into this and get a discount due to number of employees.
Okay. All right, I'll try to run down just a couple more. I'm sorry that we may not be able to get everything, but one other question is, what excites you the most upon becoming ASCE president?
You know, really right down to it is developing a sense of family, a sense of professional family. And you know, 150,000 family members. Janet knew I had a reasonably large family until I told her that my family was 150,000 strong. But that's the sense I wish to develop among all of us. And I keep saying, you know, think about this, even to the students. Think that you will be one member of a 150,000 member team. You're on a team of 150,000 members, and most of them want to help you. And the alternative is you're all by yourself against a team of 150,000 members. What do you choose? I mean, I've played a lot of rugby, soccer, and I enjoy teamwork, no doubt. And so if I could give this sense of family and team to ASCE beyond the 245, the PDH, you know, the meetings, the conferences, but this sense that we're in it together and we're going to do something remarkable.
Okay, and this is, I'll leave the best for last. This is my last question / comment. It's from Israel. He is a student. He's one of our award winners. And he asks, and he states, how can we increase membership? Well, as a student, I would like to feel welcomed, not just by the people involved in the education part of this association, but by the entire body. I would encourage employers and members to focus on being more inclusive and talking about their personal experiences to us. Let me see if I can try to get the questions back. Excuse me, just one more minute. Let me see. Experiences to us. He says, at the end of the day, we all want jobs, but I think it's just as important to have a sense of ownership and pride in being a part of ASCE.
That's awesome, Isabel. I'm glad you asked the question, and congratulations to you and to all your colleagues there that received those scholarship. This is wonderful. You know, it's when my kids were born, I think it's critically important to show respect, even though there is a sense of hierarchy. You show respect, and to me, the students are tremendous energy, tremendous brain power, and because of that, I created the Student Presidential Group. It's a group of 20 students who visit with me once a month to discuss what's of concern to them. They were selected by the 10 regions and the 9 institutes. And we meet on Sunday from 12 to 1, the beginning of the month. And, you know, I'm a bit disappointed that on the ASCE committees, we don't have students. You know, we have student committees, but there are no students on the student committee. And so we need to change that. But final comment, Israel, Now you know the president. So send me an email and we're going to make a difference.
Okay. Well, Dr. Briaud, I want to thank you so very much for being our keynote speaker for our June branch meeting. And on behalf of the ASCE Houston branch, I will send this beautiful tumbler, ASCE tumbler, in the mail for you to
Thank
show
you.
a token of appreciation, okay?
Very nice.
Well, everyone, for the month of July, we will not have a branch meeting. That's reserved as our break month for the summer. So enjoy your summer with your loved ones and just relax and be rejuvenated when we come back in August. And with that being said, our next branch meeting will be our joint meeting with the Houston Contractors Association. More information will be available on our website. The date of the luncheon will be Thursday, August the 27th at the Junior League. And at this time, the keynote speaker is to be determined. Everyone will receive a follow-up email from GoToWebinar in a few days with instructions on how to obtain their PDH certificate. If there are no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Bye-bye, Dr. Briaud.
Bye,
Goodbye.
Julia. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.